First of all, Shai, thank you for taking the time to do also this Q&A session. I have also some questions, but I want to see if there are any questions from the audience. But before we jump into that, just like a quick bit of an intro from you. How do you kind of feel the vibe of the conference? You had the chance to open this conference. The whole venue was packed, overcrowded. There were people standing and waiting to see what you had to say. So how do you feel the vibe of the conference?
So it's my first time here, and it's really amazing to see the vibe, and so many people are coming. A place that I think not many people are familiar with, but there are amazing opportunities here, and I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to come here and see and feel, and also yesterday talking with some people around, and really thank you for the opportunity.
Nice. And it was very interesting to see how kind of like the Mobileye vision was broken down and how the evolution happened across the time. So let's jump onto the question from the audience. I think we have some microphones, but the room is not that big, but still let's use the microphones also for kind of like recording and making sure that we can hear the sound.
Okay. I'm Enzo Fenoli from UCL. I'm a researcher on that. Two questions. First, very simple, because in your evolution from machine learning to a large language model, you have not talked about the transformer. Don't you think it's the real disruption from what we had in deep learning?
I think that the consolidation part of the revolution is exactly the transformer, the attention. And I think it's very important, this architecture. I'm not 100% that aren't other architectures that could have led us to where we are today. But for sure, the attention is all you need paper, and the transformer is the most important part of the consolidation revolution, because this allows to take speech problem, natural language problems, computer vision problems, video generation problems, and today even biology and many other domains, to put them all in the same framework of a single neural network architecture.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So it was already part in consolidation. Second question, okay, this is probably we need to discuss more. So you discussed a lot about the autonomous vehicle and all the problem particularly related to ethics. Don't you think that the two different populations, the autonomous vehicle population and the human driver population, are completely different? They are following completely different rules that are incompatible. So the problem to find out a way to reduce or avoid is probably too extreme, to reduce the injuries when the two populations will cohabitate in some way, is a little bit ill-posed.
So it's a great point, and there is a practicality issue. It was clear to us from day one that there will be no revolution in one day. So you cannot be in a world where humans are driving, switch to a world where only autonomous vehicles are driving in a single day. It just cannot happen. It's going to be a gradual process. That's one practical problem. Moreover, even if all the cars were autonomous, you still have the problem with pedestrians. Because when you need to drive in urbanic areas, there are pedestrians that are walking on the streets. And again, you are suffering from the same problem of incompatibility between human drivers and machine drivers. So the solution must take into account, and the solution must bridge this incompatibility. So the way to do it is to adjust the machines to the humans, because we cannot educate the humans to behave differently, even though we would have wanted. It's just not practical. So we need a set of rules for the machines to be compatible with the humans. And the model is basically a mathematical formalism of the implicit common sense that humans are doing. Now, not all humans are following common sense, and indeed there are car accidents. But the average human driver is acting in a sensible way, and the question is how to formalize it, and this is part of what the model achieves.
This is exactly the point, because when you say you need to have rules for the machine, this is explicit knowledge. On the other way around, we human were following implicitly, what we call the tacit knowledge. In particular, is a collective tacit knowledge. So the rules that we learn in some way to behave in a social environment. I can drive a car in any country in the world. I will adapt. Nobody teach me anything. I will adapt. Just looking at body language, looking at something, some clues. If you ask me what you find out a way, I don't know. I'm just doing. This kind of implementation being implicit, non-verbal, unexpressed, it cannot be implemented with a set of rules. This is a really big problem. It's a really theoretical problem. So just finding a way to mix the two populations, okay, I understand for the challenge, but it will be very difficult because of the implicit side, unless we try to instigate implicit knowledge in the machine, and what is happening with what you call the emergence is just the beginning. There are a lot of emergencies. One of these emergencies is a tacit knowledge in the machine, the mechanistic tacit knowledge. There's some the research say kind of implicit knowledge in the machine can be understood. It's not human, it's depending upon the machine. So probably there is a way for a kind of solution, but it should be not rule-based. Otherwise, we will replicate as per system, and you know the story.
Yes, I completely agree. And the trick is that you need two things. You need to do exactly what you described, and we are doing it. So all the deep learning that is being utilized in the machine exactly try to mimic the implicit knowledge of the human crowd. And we are doing it in many, many different ways, both in how we build maps that contain crowd information on the average human driver, what speed the average human driver is driving in a certain place, etc., without understanding all the details of why human drivers are behaving in such a way in certain conditions. So for sure, I totally agree that we need such ingredients. What we are saying is that it's not enough, because if you can achieve a lot by using deep learning in order to mimic human behavior, but it will work in the average case and not in the edge cases. And then you need, beyond that, you need set of rules to say that, you know, there are things that you shouldn't do, period, no matter what, okay? And for this, you also need the mathematical model and the mathematical guarantees. And it's not easy to come up with a model that is flexible enough to cover the complete, complication of the word. But we think we managed to do it in this particular domain of driving. It's not that we should just drive on based on this model. It's a safety net. So you want to combine both of these things. You want to combine always trying to mimic the implicit intentions of humans as much as you can, plus having a safety net that prevents the model from doing things that are completely unacceptable, and you want to be able to talk about what is the definition of something that is completely unacceptable and what exactly are the boundaries.
I think just to conclude, there is a problem. So when you say to mimic the intention of the human, agreed. The machine lacks intentionality. Implement intentionality doesn't make any sense. You cannot implement consciousness. You cannot implement intuition and so on. So we are not going to implement kind of mechanical man. It's a machine. It's something different that will cooperate with human. In which way? So I understand from the research perspective, but I see not really short, near-term application for all this. In the long term, I'm a researcher, so I like it. This is very interesting. Even if there is a pressure to have a solution for next year, or there are a lot of announcements, I don't think we will any way closer to a satisfying solution. There will be always something that shouldn't work as expected, even if there is massive improvement as you are presented today.
Yeah. I understand with your current reading of reality, things like conscious, which are not well articulated and well defined, and we don't have the analog of these notions in machines. But two things, at least from my experience. One is that don't underestimate the progress that is happening. I don't know what will happen in 2, 3, 4 years. If you look 4 years backward and you see the progress that happened, maybe we will have some models of conscious in 4 or 5 years. One can never know. The second thing is that there are, even if you don't have such properties, it doesn't mean that you cannot acquire many parts of the implicit knowledge of how to behave in certain situations.
Yes, this is easy. This is easy. But for the consciousness, be careful, because we need to open to the morality of the machine and to the position of the machine with the human and the right of the machine. So we already have problem just to find a solution among humans. Then you are the machine. So from my perspective, it's fine. Really, no problem. I can cooperate with a machine. I can exchange with a machine. No problem at all. I don't care, basically, if you are a machine or not. Really don't care. But it could the impact, the social impact for what is the mainstream thinking or the social rule that we are built in our society, it will be very difficult to be overcome once a machine with conscious machine will be present and available. So we are talking really the future, but we're going really to scare people.
I agree.
To jump a bit on that point, you were mentioning kind of like aligning the incentives and kind of like deciding on this like ethical. And I think one of the potential questions is, of course, companies that are involved in this field will have an incentive to build the best product. So they will kind of train the results to be in that way. But it might also be tempted to train it to achieve maximum profitability. And then also on the, let's say, political regulation side, they might be tempted to regulate the behavior in a certain way. Society might want to regulate this and align the incentives in a certain way. Pedestrians might want them. You gave the example, like it's super safe for the pedestrians if cars drive really slow, but it's very bad for the rest of the cars, probably for the economy in general. How do you think this kind of like fine-tuning the incentives will happen in the future, and how do you guys at Mobileye look at it, because you're at the forefront of this and you've deployed so many of these systems globally?
So many great questions. I will try to decompose them to several questions. First, going for investment in safety in companies that work in AI. So in Mobileye, it was clear to us from day one that we need to invest in safety because it's an essential part of the product. And before we had a working prototype, we had a model of safety for the prototype. It was clear that you cannot really do something that you can put on the road without clarifying what safety is and how we are going to achieve it. It's not that always companies can get to this stage in day one, but I think that companies should thrive to work like this, to say, okay, what am I going to develop? Let's think a bit about the implications, and let's think a bit about the safety net that are needed to be in place in order to prevent from my software to do harm. I think it's the interest of the company as well. Because if a company provides something that makes harm, it will backfire. So it makes sense also for the company. Regarding regulation, it's a big issue. Again, in the automotive industry, I was involved with regulations, and we were able as Mobileye to affect a little bit about the regulation. What we try to say to regulators is that you don't have to accept Mobileye's model of safety, but you need to accept some model of safety, and not say, okay, let's just things will roll out, and we will figure it out later. Regulator should be ahead of the development. This is an utopic word. It doesn't happen in reality. And I think that, I mean, if there are people, young people, that want to do a career in scientific regulation, I think it's something that is missing. I think that we don't have enough research and enough positions in government and in unions of governments around scientific regulation. I think that there is a lot that can be done and is not being done simply because we don't have enough research on it and we don't have the right people in the right places to work on such questions from the scientific perspective and affect society in a very profound and meaningful way. So I encourage young people to go there. I also encourage governments to build such bodies and attract young researchers to go to these directions. I think it can have an amazing impact on our society.
Okay, so this kind of like path of regulation should come probably from very public peer review research that is openly discussed. Any other questions from the audience? If not, I wanted to kind of like jump on a last question. We're all very excited when we see announcements from Mobileye or any of the companies at the forefront of technology and AI. But I'm curious, what are you excited about what's coming in like 1 or 2 years? Like what gets you excited or, thinking about it at night before you go to bed?
Yeah, so I will talk a little bit about Mobileye first and maybe later about the more general AI community. In Mobileye, if we look at this journey of autonomous vehicles, then on one hand, if I go back 10 years, okay, so I also thought that at this stage, 10 years, we will have autonomous vehicles everywhere on the streets, and we are not there yet, on one hand. On the other hand, many of the things happened, they happened gradually, and we didn't have the time to reflect on it and to see that there are amazing achievements. So look at the situation today. There are driverless cars in the world, driving in cities, okay? That's one. It happened, okay? There are problems. The problems are really scale and the economy of these robotaxis, which are not solved yet. But the technological jump of having cars that safely drives on the streets is there. Secondly, we have cars that are driving, like, for example, the car I drive has the Mobileye system in production car, has a Mobileye system in it, and basically I enter the car, I enter an address, and the car goes there. It's true that I need to supervise it, okay? But most of the time the car does exactly what's needed, okay? So we achieved a lot, but now what is exciting into the future? I think that there are two things that for me are the most exciting, and I think that we are going to see them in the coming years. So one of them is really having consumer cars in which there is a driver in the car, but in some situations it can trust the car completely and have eyes off the road. Okay, so we call it the shift from hands off but eyes on systems to hands off, eyes off systems. Okay, and we have a project with Audi, collaboration with Audi, where we build an eyes off system on consumer cars. I find it one of the most exciting things that will happen, and it's going to happen very soon. Okay, so what does it mean? Why is it exciting? It is exciting because you buy back your time. Okay, so if today autonomous driving for consumer vehicles are a comfort feature, it's very nice. You don't need to drive, but you don't really buy back your time. It's you do the same, but the driving behavior, the driving experience is different. Instead of moving the steering wheel, the cars do it by themselves, but you are the driver in the car. When eyes are off the road, you can do something else. I think it will make a huge impact on us, on humanity. That's one thing. The second thing, which this was, the beginning of Mobileye started as a safety system, as something that supervises the human drivers. I think that we are starting to have the technology of the Vision Zero paradigm. What is a Vision Zero? It's a decision of the Swedish Parliament by 2020 to have zero fatalities from car accidents.
2020?
Yeah.
20.
We passed it. 2020.
Okay.
This was a decision. We didn't meet this goal. They improved a lot. They did. The government did things in the infrastructure level. So exactly setting the speed, etc., speed bumps and stuff like that. How to build junctions. They minimize the number of accidents, but it's still not enough. I think that the features that we are building today for having the car drive itself and the safety mechanisms that we are building to supervise the machine itself can be used in scale for supervising also humans. And if most of the cars will have these supervision mechanisms, then we can reach a world where maybe not Vision Zero, but Vision Epsilon. So we will have very, very few car accidents. It's also a big deal. Even forget about the autonomous vehicle revolution. The fact that very few people will die from car accidents or will get injured from a car accident is really a big thing. So this is in the context of Mobileye, and of course we are working on additional things, but these are things that I find exciting to the near future. In the more general AI arena, there are two things that I'm working on, and I think I find them, really exciting, and I'm invested in them because I really believe that they will change humanities, and it's go to two extremes. One extreme is humaning robots that can help us reduce the need for human labor in tedious tasks that are really boring, and humans can do better things in their time. And with humanoid robots, like in the Industrial Revolution, so there used to be a job of doing laundry, okay, and many people worked with had this job, and then came the washing machine, and now still there are few, but most of us are not working in doing laundry, okay, because the industry found a solution. I think that with humanoid robots we can have more and more stuff like that, which will impact the society greatly. That's one thing. On the other extreme, I think that AI models of today are very far from being the next Newton, the next Einstein, bringing really revolutions. And imagine an alien that, lands here on Earth, and suppose that it is a friendly alien, and you can ask him question. What would you ask him? So there are many, there are many scientific questions that I would be thrilled to ask a very advanced entity. I want to think about AI as being such a thing. So AI can evolve to be something that you can, as a scientist, you can talk with and make the progress of science much faster. And this, I find this is very, very exciting, again, because you can, it's like in videos that you do fast forward to the future. So with such abilities, we can do fast forward to the future and find, cures to diseases, and also solving energy problems, all sort of things that humanity is struggling with today. And I think that AI can be a great assistant in order to speed up the progress in science.
Okay, so like a co-pilot on steroids for researchers.
Exactly.
All right. Shai, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing these words with us.
Thank you very much.